Hey there, traders. Christian from Hertz Tribeca Trade Group with your end of day recap for Tuesday. And wow, what a day! I'm just looking at, at the futures in front of me, and S&P futures basically flat on the day. Another remarkable save, kick save again. So a couple of things, from the last couple of days of price action. We started the day higher yesterday, didn't want to go there. And again, look at all these wicks, these long tails on these candles. We started the day, it looked horrendous this morning with everything breaking down, Apple breaking down, Facebook breaking down. And, that just kind of halted about an hour after the open. And I kind of sat on my hands for the first hour of the day. It's almost like you don't want to get fooled by this stuff anymore. And it gets very difficult. Back in the day, I would say, meaning a year ago, I would kind of chase volatility a little bit and follow moves down. But this is just really tricky for traders because the best thing to do is kind of sit on your hands until we really break down formally breaking the trend lines or a moving average, where it's almost like you kind of have to sit and wait till we actually do it, because if not, you're going to get caught. And that's exactly what. So I didn't really press to the short side at all. I just kind of let things settle in, and I figured that there would be some buying opportunities. And first hour of the day in terms of option activity, it was really quiet. There really weren't a lot of trades that were going on that were notable. And then we started to see some buying come back in, specifically in buying some energy names as well as some retail names. So I'll go over some of the option activity for the day, but I just wanted to go over the technicals. And again, we're above this trend line. We're in value. No damage done. It's just shocking to me that after how much we were down, really, it wasn't so much S&P. I mean, S&P was down a decent amount. I think about 60, 70 basis points on the lows. It was really NASDAQ, and you could see NASDAQ, same thing. We finished down. I mean, just a measly 30 basis points, and we're still at the top of value. I don't even have to adjust my value areas that I send out in the morning because we're still, it looks like, above, just barely right at the top of value. And even if we go into value for the day, I mean, it could quickly be brought back into. But we're basically holding all these things. And what we were watching today in the trading room, which we picked up on earlier, was that the small caps had some nice relative strength, and that's when I would have really went ahead and pressed some shorts. But if you look at the beginning, I'll use IWM. I guess it doesn't really matter. But if you go to IWM in the morning, I said, okay, IWM's had some relative strength. Right about 10 o'clock, they were actually up about 20 basis points. And then once we kind of got to the lows of the day, right around, I guess it was right around 11 o'clock, I was like, okay, let's see if these small caps hold or if they break. Sometimes you want to look at the best, the strongest, and sometimes you want to look at the weakest just to see what's going on. You could see the Qs kind of held there, but I said, let's see what the small caps do. Let's see if they hold. And sure enough, they did not take out yesterday's low. And the next thing I said, okay, I'm not sure that we're going to be able to power through to the top of value, because usually once you kind of start in value or you go below value, it becomes quite an effort to get through value. But we ended up doing it. Had a little bit of time. We kind of retested, and small caps finished on the highs of the day. So we haven't seen that going back to the daily chart. When's the last time we've seen the small caps finished on the highs of the day? Certainly it wasn't yesterday. Yesterday they were also very well bid, and right around midday, same thing, got sold. So I would say not since 3:30, where we saw the small caps close on the highs. I don't know why don't have a trend line drawn on this one. This isn't a perfect trend line because we've got this, but it's just kind of something to kind of watch as small caps have been making lower lows and lower highs and lower lows, probably up until today. So we'll see if we get some follow through. I'm not really expecting much out of this market the rest of the week, because it is a shortened holiday week. It's Good Friday on Friday, and then there's a Jewish holiday as well. So a lot of times this ends up being a really low volume week, it doesn't mean we can't have volatility, which is what we had today. So those are the major U.S. indices that I watch, and also the VIX. If you look at the VIX, just kind of moving along to some of the other things that were really notable for the day. The VIX was up at one point almost about 10% on the day. I actually sold some VXX call spreads out in June. I tend to do this whenever we get a spike in volatility. It's one of my favorite trades to do. Selling, again, not the VIX, not VIX, but VXX. VXX is I feel like Ken Fisher. I would never buy the VXX. I would never. The VXX is a very flawed instrument. So, whoever, if anybody ever goes long, I would really love to have a conversation with them on VXX. Basically, all you have to do is, and I've shown this before from time to time, but the VIX attempts to attract short-term VIX, and it just doesn't do it. You can look at since they created this product, the VXX was never trading at 25,000. They've had to have reverse split after reverse split after reverse split. Why? Because the product doesn't do what it says it's supposed to do. Again, I sound like the guy on the CNBC commercial, but so anytime you get a bounce on this thing, it's been one of my favorite trades to go ahead and try to short it. So what I did was I sold call spreads in the VXX today. I went out to June because I figured we may get another week or two of volatility. And I sold the June 1723 call spreads and collected about $1.30. I kind of did this throughout the day today, so I think my average cost basis is $1.30. Of course, whenever you sell a call spread, your risk is the width. The only thing I've been long ABX now for a couple of weeks. I'm still in that trade, and now especially with gold over the 200-day moving average, I want to stay in that trade. The remaining of it. Bonds. This is also, if you go to the bond futures, this I've been talking about bonds for a while because they've been trading sideways. They also closed. Again, they've been moving very closely with what gold has been doing, but both bonds and bonds are not above the 200-day moving average, but they did move out of this sideways pattern. So there could be something to do here to kind of play this trend. I would rather play golds than bonds. I think bonds are underneath the 200-day moving average. They've got a lot of open road, I guess, to the 200-day. But I think I would be interested more in gold, considering that's above the 200-day moving average. And again, they seem to be moving in line together. So I almost think you could pick either one of them, and I'd rather pick the one that's over the 200-day moving average. So that interests me. Besides that, some positives or takeaway. Toll Brothers was up really, really nicely on an upgrade today. The ITB ETF, which is basically the best performing group in the U.S. this year. If you go to the ITB ETF, again, why do I like ITB over XHB? ITB is more of the home builders. I'll just show you this really quickly, but you can see year to date up a mere 16%. And you look at this in terms of the value areas here, and we got a breakout. We got a break above and a close on the highs. So I've been long ITB now for a couple weeks, and it's really hasn't done anything. And I'm looking at the chart now, and I'm getting a little bit excited, considering that this is now starting to break out of that sideways pattern that it's been in since for basically all of March. So I like this to the upside. I'm sitting in January calls, and I'm looking for more upside there, looking for the trend to continue. What else was performed really well? Steel names actually performed pretty well today as well. I don't really have an explanation for that, but U.S. Steel was up 2.8%, and sometimes these things find a bounce when you least expect it. TS, which I talked about this morning, there was a big trade in TS, very short dated, but this actually increased open interest. So this chart looks pretty good to me. I think it's going for that purple line up here, this Virgin Point of Control, $36. What else was interesting or noteworthy today? I would say a lot of energy names. I'll start to go over some of the unusual option activity for the day. Before I do that, I always want to talk about the bad as well, but semis actually broke a little bit here. You got a sell signal, even though they finished back in value. I think you really want to keep an eye on the semis. We've been talking about that. I was talking about it last week when the trend wasn't broken, and I said, really, I thought nothing to do. but the picture has changed in the semis quite a bit. They were down about 1.5%, so they came back and cut that by, I think, more than it must have been down more than 1.5%, because you can see the tail is rather large on this. So you got a hammer bar. So I think this is a much a must watch, and I would be watching 77.68. That's the bottom of value, and that will be a break. Notice that you got the moving averages crossing over, which is a sell signal. If this can manage to rally and get back up there, this will be neutralized, but I would watch 77.68 to confirm this sell signal in the semis. Okay, so now we'll talk about energy names. Energy continues to move. Oil continued to move higher. They did have the API report out that just came out about 45 minutes ago, which was a drawdown of, I think, about a little over 1 million barrels. So you can see oil is actually up here after hours. And that's really where we saw a lot of call activity this morning. We started to see this in Devon. They just kept on going after the 43 calls. We did see a little bit of McDonald's, but this is weekly calls. We saw Visa. I did try Visa as a day trade, and I got rid of that trade, but they've been continuing to go after Visa for the last 3 weeks. There's actually a total of 15,000 contracts that traded. I think the open interest, yeah, the open interest was nothing on these. So it does seem like somebody really likes Visa. So that's a name to watch. These were just May calls. I think they report earnings on 4/20. So keep that in mind too. But you do have a couple, you'll have another week before they report earnings. I guess at least probably a week and a half, I guess it is. So this could be a trade that maybe rallies into earnings, maybe something to do here. APC, big call buyer in this one. Halliburton, a lot of calls ended up trading today, 14,000. So a lot of bullish energy plays in options today. And that was probably the most sizable transactions. There's a couple other things that traded. Some Yum brands, some UAL traded today. I actually sold a put spread in that. It's usually when these things happen, it's kind of like a 3-day rule for earnings. You kind of wait 3 days, but even though it's a day, I think this thing they're going to stop pulling that ad. I'm calling it an ad, but that video that they keep showing of the guy getting pulled off, which I think everybody has probably seen at least a dozen times already. If that was a drinking game, you would be wasted by how many times they're showing that. But eventually they got to stop showing it, and UAL will probably resume to the upside. What other? Just a lot of put buying I saw in some of the banking names as well today. We saw Starbucks put buyer at the end of the day. They went after Apple in the beginning of the day. So some of these names, I'll just kind of go through a quick review. I don't talk about these names every day. But Apple did come off the lows. I would be a little bit wary right now. It's been in this uptrend where the price has been above the blue line since what? Since November. I would be a little bit concerned, a break of this trend if the price does go below the blue line. I think it's time to take some profits here if it continues this way. Same thing with Facebook. Facebook, if you remember, all the way back in the beginning of the year was below the 200-day moving average. Since it's got above, it never looked back. Price action has been above the yellow line, and it now just sunk to inside the blue. So, maybe these things probably, I don't know if they necessarily break down, but maybe they chop around for a bit. That's what I would be expecting. Google, not much of a day. Amazon actually held in there quite well. Amazon could be a nice play for tomorrow. We'll have to see. And then Tesla had a little bit of volatility this morning, but a little bit of an engulfing bar for today. I would watch that name and see if it hangs above that yellow line. So that's it for today's recap. A little bit longer than usual. Thanks for joining me, and have a great night.